Welcome to Soul Talk, a podcast founded and created by Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love. Soul Talk was created in 2020 when a pandemic hit and we were in lockdown. She wanted to have exciting conversations with open-minded people so they could understand different aspects of herself and she could help others in the same way. She interviews healers, coaches, therapists, psychics, readers, channelers, mediums, intellectuals, poets, artists, and more. She calls it Soul Talk because it started as a conversation from soul to soul.
Hello, everyone. This is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love, and thank you for being in Soul Talk. Today, we have a special invite. Her name is Andreea Tamas, and she is a certified coach, a speaker, and a trainer with John Maxwell, Reiki Practitioner, and Sacred Transitions of Soul Care Coach, specializing in Akashic Records. Andreea, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate your presence and you accepting our invite.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Monica. I'm very excited to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and who you do? What do you do? Do you have write a book or where do you have speak? And we want to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Andreea Tamas. I'm originally from Romania, and I moved almost 9 years ago to United States with a big dream, the American dream, now that everyone has when you move to the States. And I would say not longer after I moved to the States, I moved there in 2014, and in 2015, I've had a near-death experience that actually changed the trajectory of my life. I was in coma for 2 days, and I would say at least 1 year after that experience, I was so mad at life, at doctors. I've had like thousands and thousands of dollars to paying bills. And I was so freaking frustrated because if you live in the States, you know that the medical system there, it's insane. You are great there as long as you're healthy. After that, not as much. So after that experience and near-death experience, I really went deep into, oh my gosh, I actually got a second chance to life. What am I here to do? So I really started searching for my purpose. And I went deep into personal development, healing, coaching, and all of it. As you know, Monica, I'm sure you have done all of that too. And now, after I went through a really challenging time in my life where after almost 1 year of battling cancer of my partner, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer back in 2021. He actually transitioned last year on April 14th on the other side. And after that time in my life, I really, really reassessed my whole life and what am I doing and what do I want to actually be a service of while I'm here on earth. And that's why I've decided to help other women that are going through challenging times to transition through those times with more grace and joy. How do you find that calm while you are in the chaos? How do you release the control when you feel like that your life is out of control? So that is where my passion stays, where my purpose is. And now I am on continuing my healing journey, traveling the world, finding parts of me and exploring parts of the world that I've never met in different ways.
I know. In the morning, in fact, I was precisely observing my past and comparing it to my present, where I am now. Mm-hmm. And I realized, oh my God, I have lived all that and I'm here. And actually I have the ability now that I can help others, not only myself. And I have passed through so much so much to know where I am now. And I am a true believer that we have passed through all that because we're meant to help the people that are in that situation where we were.
Yes.
That's what is easier for us to help that people that are in that position where we were. And I am so sorry to hear about your partner.
Thank
it is
you.
very, very painful. And many people that I know that are passing through that for grief. It is hard to overcome, and some people never do.
Yes, and it's really, for what I've noticed with myself since I've been on this grief journey, it's because I have a certain awareness. I have so many tools. I have been on my healing journey for such a long time, even before we found out he has cancer. I was able to get to the point where I've asked for help, which I think so many people have such a hard time with. I remember right after my partner transitioned to the other side, I just surrounded myself with help. I was working with 2 therapists, with a life coach, with an energy healer. I was like, just bring it all in, because what I didn't want it to do was to numb myself, because that's what I used to do before. When I went through a trauma, I just numbed myself, and I'm like, no, I've worked so hard to be to this place in my life where I'm able to experience it all again, that I'm just not gonna let myself slip back into that place. So that's a thing that I want to share with your audience, that the importance of asking and receiving help, and knowing that people out there, they really want to help you. Like, it's so important for you to release that belief that you are a burden to those around you. Just, I want you to just place yourself in the other person's shoes. If your friend goes through a really challenging time, don't you want to be there for them? Of course you do. If you're their friend, their family, and so on, you want to be there for you. Well, it's the same with those around you. They want to be next to you. So give them the gift, because you also give them a gift by allowing them to be next to you.
And not only that, people has a lot of stigmas about therapies or coaches or healers or things like that. The healers even is more easy to digest because they hide it. But not the therapist or the coach. Those are 2 things that they cannot, or they don't want to hide it. So they say, oh, this is only for crazy people, and I'm not crazy. When they forget that the rest of the world, everybody in the world, actually, we have traumas. We have things we have to work with, including the Dalai Lama. So that's why we're here in this plane.
Yeah, and I think that's an old belief system that some people still hold on. Probably depends where you live in the world, where you're listening from right now. But I think people are actually starting to open more and more up, towards coaches, towards therapists, like going inside, going deep inside to actually do the work, because the reality is no one is going to do it for you. And if you don't work on your trauma, that is going to affect you on the long run in ways that you can't even imagine. Like, for me, was numbing. That was and when you are numbed, and when you don't feel any of your emotions, then you just feel like a robot that goes through life but doesn't really experience anything. And for my partner, which I am so sure that one of the reasons he got that big tumor and we diagnosed it when it was already at stage 4, it had to do with his past traumas, where he never worked through them. And if you never heard the fact that our stuck emotions, because they don't move, they create disease in the body. So if you find yourself being sick and you're like, I don't know why, I'm healthy, I'm living a healthy life, like I'm working out, eating well, and blah, 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 but you find yourself constantly getting sick, that means there are some underlying emotions for you to actually deal with.
Yes, that is so, so true. I have friends that they had such a healthy life. They ate and they did exercise. They did everything what they were supposed to, and they got cancer.
Yes.
They never smoked. They were never, they went to sleep at 8 o'clock at night. You know, they did everything that in exaggeration so they can take care of themselves. And at the end, they did had cancer and they died. So it is more the emotional part that's the part that we have not been taught by the medical industry, because they don't want to actually know, because it's a business for them.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, if you get sick, in at least in the United States, you better have money, because the insurance is not going to cover all.
No, or move away. That's fine, or move away.
Yes, definitely. So it is totally emotional. And so how do you work with people in challenging times?
Yeah, so it's really about looking at a person from a holistic perspective, no? Because, for example, we're talking about people getting sick. They don't get sick just because of the food, you know. It's the holistic thing. It's the mind, body, and spirit, that if they are out of balance, if we are not in touch with ourselves, with our emotions, if we are not satisfied with the life we live, if we don't live on purpose, and so on, it is going to create disease, because the purpose is to take you to a breaking point, to create a change, to create a shift in your life, because the majority of people, they really create that change when they are faced with a lot of pain. Unfortunately, there are very few people who create that shift when they are in a good space, just because they want more. The majority, it's when they are in a lot of pain. So the body, the emotions, and my mind, they just try to bring you, to regulate you, and bring you more into a sense of purpose. And that's the way I work with people while they're experiencing these challenging times. It's the holistic approach, the mind, body, and spirit, and see where is it that you are out of balance, what is it that dissatisfies you, and really work on that emotional intelligence, the emotional resilience, so you can actually show up as your best self, because that change, that challenge comes into your life to help you grow, to help you expand in ways you wouldn't have done otherwise.
And we met through the beautiful Deanne.
Yes.
And she's an amazing Akashic Records reader. And I know how she worked with me in the Akashic Records, because I do it the same. But many people do not understand what is the Akash, or how it can help us in our business or in our personal life, the Akashic Records. How do you work with your clients with that? With the Akashic Records?
So
you do the same.
So when I tap into the Akashic Records of my clients, it really comes through for me. I feel like my specialty in the records, it comes through like for me to give my clients validation and confirmation of certain steps, that of certain goals and so on that they are going towards. So that's what comes through. That's my specialty in the Akashic Records. And for those that never had one, or maybe you did with different people, I've had my Akashic Records reading with quite a few different people. And they're all different, because each person brings their own unique essence. And for those that are listening, to just understand better the Akashic Records, it's the library of your soul. Like, that's what we tap into. It's the library of your soul. We tap into your higher self. We connect with your guides, which is absolutely amazing. And we let go of the ego, of the shoulds, of the coulds, of all those things. And we are really in such a powerful healing space where only the pure light and love comes through. And of course, you also might hear some tough love from your guides, but they are there to support you and to help you grow in ways that your soul came here to grow. Because Monica, I remember how you said that you were looking at your past, and you were analyzing and looking, oh my God, how far you have come. And through the Akashic Records, it is believed that we choose our family, we choose our challenges, we choose a lot of things before we come here on earth. And actually, when we go through really hard times in our life, it means that your soul is so brave, because it has chose to go through all of that in order to grow. And I remember reading about that and learning about that while my partner was going through his cancer journey. And I was looking at him and I'm like, you're such a brave soul for choosing this, because he chose that before he came on earth. And I know it's a hard concept for some people to grasp and understand.
Yes, it is. It is hard to say to someone, you know what, you provoked this to yourself, but not necessarily you have to go through that, or you can heal yourself.
Yes.
Breaking contracts, removing vows, things like that. That's one way that you don't have to live through that, and forgiving yourself for the choices you made. That's something that the people that wants to continue being in the victimhood, those are the ones that they are going to continue being sick. I know that by experience. I used to be, and when I had that mentality, and how I got rid of it, it was actually owning every single choice that I have made. And it is tough for the listeners, because not everybody's going to be open for this, because it is tough to actually own your own traumas that you provoked yourself. To be born in this timeline.
Yes. And it's okay, not everyone needs to understand or resonate with this. And I want to invite your listeners to take in what they resonate with, but also at the same time, allow yourself to challenge your beliefs and the way you have viewed the world until this point, especially if you're not in a point of your life where you're like, I love everything about my life and I'm so happy and so satisfied with everything I have, that I just want to encourage you to expand your horizon and allow yourself to look at things differently and question them. Like, even what I'm saying, please question it, but go and look for your own answers. Don't just satisfy to live with the same answers you've had until now, because those didn't bring the results that you want. So that's why I'm encouraging you to challenge me, challenge everything.
Yes. I mentioned many times, like, you don't have to believe me. Just try it to see what happens. And then later on, we talk about it. It is, but be honest. Be honest with yourself. It doesn't matter. You're not honest with the rest of the world. Be honest with yourself. That's what it is, really can create that shift in your reality. Correct?
Correct. And honesty, it's one of the traits I have embodied from my partner, because he was such a honest and upfront person, like so honest, like blunt, they would call him in the States. And I really took that on, because when I met him, I remember being confused around, should I say the truth or should I just hide it? I wasn't necessarily lying, but hiding. And the reason I was like in between and the middle, it's because my parents, I grew up with two conflicting parents. Like one of them was super honest and one of them was hiding things. And I'm like, I didn't like neither one of them. So it was hard for me to decide how should I be, who should I be. So I was playing in between. And by being with my partner, he actually helped me realize the importance of living an honest life. Because the way you just feel with yourself when you are truthful, when you are honest about everything and everyone, it's such a pure place to come from.
And not only that, it is when you see yourself in the mirror, you will feel proud of the honesty that you're having to yourself. It might be painful. I'm not going to deny that. Yes, we have done wrong choices in our lives, and but we have learned from them. It's like from an exam in the University of I don't know, trigonometry or something like that. I don't know, physical quantic or whatever it is. But it is okay because you learn how not to do it.
Yeah. It gives you more clarity. And a story that was also coming through, Monica, when we were talking about not believing and questioning and so on. When I was on that journey with my partner, I was really a control freak. And the way my control was showing up was through me doing a lot of research on all kind of different treatments, because my mission became to save him. I'm like, I'm the savior and I need to save him. And I took on that responsibility. And then I would get so triggered when he wouldn't do what I would tell him to do. Oh my God, especially around food. Like he made some shifts around food, but he couldn't fully make the shifts, like, because they're saying people with cancer, they have to be super strict on the food and so on and so on. And he couldn't do it. And one of the reasons was because he was very sick and he was having a hard time keeping any food in. But for me, it was hard to understand. It was so hard to release that need to control that side of him. So what I did in those moments, I made the decision that to just give his power back, because at the end of the day, it's his life. Yes, I'm part of it and I'm part of the journey, but it's his life and only he can actually decide what is best for him. So I've learned to accept without agreeing. And that gave me grace on the journey and allowed me to give him grace for the journey that he's going through.
So I do understand that at the end we cannot have the power to change anybody except ourselves. And that's one of my big lessons that I have learned. Yes. Well, I'm still learning, because I still, once in a while, it comes out the savior and like, let me try or let me do all this for you. But it's just about controlling someone else and not respecting the process where they are at. And that's a big lesson that gets remembered to us over and over and over and over again. I don't know to what, but
yeah. And I remember after he transitioned on the other side, I've had a Reiki session with my teacher. And I remember in that session, I asked her, I'm like, Yvonne, tell me why was he never able to make that change that was triggering me so bad? And he knew he should do it. He just couldn't do it. And she said, Andrea, he was just not an energetic match for that change. And even though his higher self knew that even though he would have made that change, it wouldn't have changed the outcome.
I totally understand. And I remember, you remind me right now of my dad when he was very, very sick. He had surgery in his stomach. It was completely mess. He died when he was 82. But one of the things at the end, he was telling me, Mijita, I want carnitas. There is pork, greasy, etc. He was having problems with his stomach, and like that, the doctor says you can't eat that. Like, I'm gonna die. At least I'm gonna have that flavor in my mouth. So I went and buy him carnitas. You know, that it's a Mexican dish, but it's very greasy and it's not very healthy neither. But yes, at least they have that flavor.
Yeah.
At least they have that like before they depart.
Yes, they want to experience that pleasure. And for him, for my partner, food was the only thing that was still giving him comfort. He was finding comfort in food.
So yes, it's been oh, and tell me about your speaking gigs. Where do you speak, and what are your talks about?
Yeah, so I speak to different places. I speak to quite a few summits. I have a few upcoming ones that are around health, around women empowerment, for entrepreneurs. So I speak on quite a few different summits and then podcasts. And I'm also present on Instagram, and I'm really looking on going on TikTok. I'm exploring. I'm looking into exploring that platform more. And what I speak about is how to adapt to unexpected change. And the main thing in that talk, it's me really giving the listeners the tools on how can you show up as your best, even though you feel like your whole world is just falling apart, how it was in my situation.
Yeah, it is hard. And people that have harder is the people that are not willing to change or adapt to the new changes. That's what I have observed.
Yes, and my first point in my talk is that change is inevitable.
Yes.
So once we understand that and we make peace with the fact that change is inevitable, as long as we are here on earth, we are going to experience change. And yes, there are a lot of things that are out of your control, but there are also a lot of things that are in your control. And in those moments, it's important to really pay attention and ask yourself, what is it that it's in your control? And start focusing on that, because the suffering during those moments comes so much because we focus on things that are out of our control. The same as I was doing with my partner, I was focusing so much on the outcome of me wanting to heal him. I didn't want to lose him, and I was just focusing on that. I want to heal him. I want to heal him. I was focusing on an outcome that was out of my control.
Because the story were different, and you have to do the inner work to heal yourself. That will be your control.
Yes. And with the healing, it's so important not to get hung up on the fact that you do some work, you work with some healers, whoever you work with, and that's it. You are healed for the rest of your life. It's important to know that healing comes in layers. And once you start, just prepare to be on it for the rest of your life.
And no one has a magic wand. You have to do the inner work.
Yes.
and healers, coaches, guides, whatever name you want to call them, they're just showing you how to do the work because they have done it themselves usually,
Yes.
like you
But
do.
they cannot do it for you. They
Yes.
cannot. And this is where again you come back at holding your power, taking responsibility, knowing that there is only that much that someone that is outside of you can do for you. And when you know that, oh my God, actually, I am the one that is holding the power. I am the one that's holding the answers. I am the prayer of my answers. Then that's when you tap in and you actually start understanding how powerful you are.
So, do you call yourself a grieving coach or just a transformational coach?
I'm a transformational, a sacred transitions. That's how I call myself. And we get so hung up on these labels, isn't it? I'm like, oh my gosh, what is my label? What is my statement? What? We get so hung up on these things that actually don't really matter. What I want the most is people right now to really feel my energy and feel the place that I'm speaking from, where I'm coming from, what are my experiences. And you already have heard a few of my stories. And what I love the most with what I'm doing right now is that I'm actually helping people from an embodied place. So I'm not just bringing in the knowledge from all my coaching certifications, which are quite a few, but I'm actually bringing my own experience. And that's when we combine the two, the knowledge with the experience, that's when the true deep transformation actually happens.
And not only that, you're being guided. Many times my guides tell me to do some stuff that I do not understand in the moment. And I always understand it later on, but that's what the client was needing or the patient was needing in that moment.
Oh yeah, like following your intuition, like in order for you to be able to get in touch with what your client needs, you have to be in touch with yourself. You have to be able to tap into yourself. And that's when that guidance, that intuition, and what the higher self, what is for the best for your client, is going to come through. Not what he wants, it's going to come through what he really needs for his highest good, for his growth.
Or think that he or she deserve. Unfortunately, how many people say I want to be having a perfect mate, or I want to have the earn these millions of dollars or whatever, but they don't feel they deserve it.
Yes, yeah. And I have a love-hate relationship with deserving, because I feel like deserving, it takes me into like a lack place where it's more of what you are an energetic match for. I like to relate to it more like that, what you are an energetic match for. Because no matter what it is that you desire, if you don't vibrate at the same level, at the same energy as the thing that you desire, you're just not going to attract it.
You have to shift it. You have to
Yes.
observe yourself in a different way. Unfortunately, those traumas comes from childhood.
Yes.
And if you have a lack in your childhood, it's going to be represented also when you're in your adult life.
Yes, the majority of our traumas, they come from childhood. And I would also want to invite your listeners to maybe look at the trauma in a different way, because I know when I hear the word trauma is just like it's thinking about this really bad, terrible thing. But how about when you look at the trauma and when you hear the word trauma, you just associate it with a story, with an experience from your past that was there to just elevate you, to just help you grow. If you choose to look at it, learn from it, and release those dark emotions.
Then you use I hear that you have a lot of modalities that you have studied, so forth. And do you apply them all with a client, or you use depending on what the client is needing, or how do you work with it?
So I have a structure for my sessions, but I use the structure if needed, because it's also letting myself be intuitively guided to the tools that he needs in that moment. And this is where it's so important to, as a coach, as a healer, to allow yourself to also flow within the session and not just hold on to a certain structure. It's good to have it there, to have it as an overview, but the most important thing, what I believe, is to tap into the tools and resources that he needs in that moment. Because if you go into a session and be like, okay, my client, it's here right now, it's at this point, okay, I think he needs this tool and this tool and this tool, then I feel like you kind of limit yourself to what you can actually gift and give to your client. You can put some tools and have them there, but let them to just be like a framework, but not the thing and the only thing.
Yes, we as coaches or healers or psychic, whatever you want to call us, when we do things by the book, we're not letting ourselves guide.
Yeah, and I did that. I'm gonna admit, I 100% did it when I started my coaching journey. Why? Because I wasn't sure on myself, because I was like so attached to be good and perfect for the client that I remember I would take 2 hours to prepare for a coaching call before I actually had the coaching call. To just make sure, I'm like, let me repeat my coaching tools. Let me go over of an overview on how this coaching session is gonna do. And we do those things, and it's okay, because we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's important to see it and move and grow into your space as well, which I believe I have grown so much.
Yes, I do remember. I am a master Reiki, and I used to put the table and, and let me do the Reiki, how I was taught and so forth. Now I don't even get the table. I took the table out, and let's do it in theta level. That's how I do it. And that's how it works for me.
Yeah, we have to find our style. And that's why there are so many different ways and so many different styles to help people and for people to receive that help and that guidance. And what I want to invite your audience is to give yourself permission to try different coaches, try different healers, try different therapies. Just try it out, play it, just play with it until you find what resonates with you. Because what happens, so many people, they just do it once with one coach or one healer or whatever. They're like, oh, that doesn't work, or that's not good, or it doesn't work for me. But what happens a lot of times, you haven't found your match. Just look at that as dating. Just go ahead and date.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because we're not coaches or healers or guides or whatever you want to call us again, for everybody.
Yes.
Not even the teacher, that they can be a great teacher for someone. It might not be the best teacher for you. So just giving us ourselves more options. It is the best way.
Yes, be curious, play, and also remember that maybe right now you relate to one teacher, one coach, one mentor, but in a month or two, you are not gonna anymore. And that's okay. It's okay to outgrow or to move on to a next teacher, a next mentor that holds the wisdom or the words that energetically you can relate to.
I totally agree with you. Andrea, would you like to add something else before we close down?
Yeah, I would like to really help everyone that's listening to find the magic in the change, because change can truly be magical if we learn how to hold our power in that process. So just remember, every single time when you are faced with a challenge, when you are faced with change, that you can tap into that magic if you learn how to tap into your personal power.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all the listeners. And if this helped you, please share it with someone else and write us a review and subscribe in YouTube or in Apple. In Apple, please write us a review. We will appreciate that very much. Thank you for being in Soul Talk. And Andrea, thank you so much for this interview. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who listened.